Hello and welcome to another edition of Son of Kaiju Review.
You're a hobbit.
I am a hobbit, and if you paid attention to the last video that went up, then you will know, aside from, looking at the title of this video, that today we will be covering Son of Godzilla.
Why?
Because you really want to be back on the set, remember?
Yeah. I do like my little thing, but it just doesn't seem right. It doesn't got enough kaiju.
Yes, that is fair. That is fair, and as of recording, it's going to get more.
I haven't been in there for a while, so I don't know if there's anything has changed or... Yeah.
Yeah, you'll probably see some of the changes next month. Because as of recording this, I've already filmed for my video, which came out earlier this month. So that is before all the changes. But getting to the point, we are talking about what is objectively one of the worst Godzilla movies ever made.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. This movie's bad.
Yeah. Son of Godzilla. A follow-up to Ebirah Horror of the Deep, a movie that, despite having Godzilla in it, was actually originally intended for King Kong, but that's a topic for when we cover that movie. This movie just kind of continues the idea of having Godzilla show up on a isolated island.
Where apparently that's where he keeps eggs. And
I guess so. So, I suppose we should start talking about the plot. Well, it starts with a plane flying over the ocean, picking up some weird interference signal, and then encountering Godzilla.
Worst costume ever.
Yeah.
He looks like the Cookie Monster.
Yeah, this movie has easily the...
I tried to mumble that with my arm, but I'm a little gassy today. It's mostly coming out of the mouth, not the back end, though. So
it's got to come out the other end. But fun fact: when I was growing up, I had a VHS copy of this movie, and this opening scene with the plane is not present in it at all.
Really?
Yeah, it cuts right to the opening credit sequence. That's set on the island. Probably because this plane scene doesn't really have much to do with the rest of the movie, aside from kind of setting up there being an interference signal, which...
Yeah, the technology is malfunctioning with this jargon.
It's an element of the film that gets reiterated a little later, but not too much later, so this plane scene is a tad redundant, aside from establishing that Godzilla is heading to Solgao Island, which is the island this movie takes place on.
So not Nisa Nublar?
No, it's not Isa Nublar.
I fucked up.
It's not Isla Sorna either. It's Site C. Or I guess Site G for Godzilla, but the Jurassic Park stories weren't written yet.
Nope.
So, yeah. But anyway, the bulk of the action takes place on this Solgao Island, where a group of scientists are conducting weather experiments in an attempt to come up with a way to basically control the weather so that they can make otherwise inhospitable areas of the world more hospitable. For like farmland and stuff, like turning deserts into fertile landscapes.
Yeah. That's a wee bit difficult.
But that's kind of the point of the experiment.
Yeah.
And conditions on this island are not the greatest, as evidenced by one of the assistants on the project becoming increasingly fed up with being stuck on an isolated jungle island.
Yeah, he is losing his shit.
And he's borderline. It gets worse later.
Oh yeah, he's very hostile to the rest of the crew. Not at this point. It's just more verbally. It gets
It gets more pronounced later.
Yeah, and it's just mental breakdown, and he just wants to go home.
There was also one point where one of the scientists who's more willing to be working on the project actively compares the whole thing to working in a concentration camp. I'm gonna go take care of that.
Yep. Don't mind that. That was just the dehumidifier. Humidifier. That would be the complete opposite thing, though.
Yeah. I need more humidity and a lot less. But, so yeah, he compares it to working in a concentration camp. Though he's on the more positive side about the whole situation. Which is a little weird.
He wants to just get the stuff done, then go home. Like, just...
Well, that guy does.
The scientist is... Wait, what person are we talking about now?
We're not talking about the guy who's actually fed up. We're talking about the guy who is a different guy.
It's not the guy who played Sarazawa.
No, I think he's in the same scene though. Mm-hmm. I think that's the guy he's talking to. Mm.
It's hard to keep track. We weren't really paying too much attention about when we were watching this movie.
This is a pretty dull film for a good chunk of it.
Wow.
And it's also in this scene that we get the reiteration of the weird interference signal coming from somewhere on the island.
Then a plane drops a person off, or he just jumps out of the plane.
Well, they think it's a plane that's coming to drop off supplies, but it drops off a news reporter by the name of Goro Maki as well, along with the supplies.
Wait, the Goro Maki?
Yes, the Goro Maki. For context, Goro Maki is a character that has appeared in a number of Godzilla films after this one.
Yep.
I mentioned this to Tank while we were watching the movie. This character has shown up in a grand total of 3 Godzilla movies across 3 different continuities. He first shows up in this movie. He then shows up as a reporter in Return of Godzilla, which is part of the Heisei continuity. Mm-hmm. And then he posthumously has a role in the film Shin Godzilla, which we'll cover when we get to that movie.
Yeah, that might take a while. Who knows? Oh, no, you have the burps. That's okay. It's probably better than us talking about this movie.
But anyway, they pick up the interference signal. Goro shows up, and he's determined to stay on the island, despite the fact that the whole point of them working on this island is to do it in secret. Yeah. Because apparently the only people who are actively aware that there's even an experiment going on this isolated jungle island is the UN.
Yeah.
And Goro just could not pass up a good story. Don't worry about that. That's reminding me to watch something I was already going to watch. It's just going to go off on a tangent. I don't like how those reminders are set up on that computer. I set up the reminders to remind me the day of me starting to watch them, and they decide, oh, you want us to remind you the day of. We'll remind you the day before. So I'll get these reminders popping up the day before I'm supposed to start watching shows for review purposes. Yeah. And it's like, you're supposed to be reminding me the day of, not the day before. It's like, what's the point of setting up the reminder if you're going to remind me well ahead of time?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Tangent over?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, I believe their much smaller Kamakura shows up.
Yeah, they allow Goro to stick around so long as he helps out her on the campsite. Don't worry, that was just a stereo shutting off. And then we encountered a large mantis called a Kamacuras. Or Guy Mantis, depending on which version of the film you're watching.
Guy Mantis. I'm just going to say Kamacuras because apparently I can't. That's how I've read it so many times. I'm not going to change now.
That's a good attitude to have. Of course, I grew up with the Gymantis version, or Gymantis, but even I prefer Kamacuras.
Yeah.
And these things are pretty big, like roughly as tall as a human.
Yes. They're not, like, over big, but they're probably a few inches taller than the
And I like the fact that, just like with Rodan, we have an insectoid creature that is about as large as a human.
Yes.
To establish that it's not just really, really big monsters that are giants. They're also just, like, regular insects that are also giants. Mm-hmm. That's one of the few nice touches that this movie has.
Yes. But after some radiation storms happen, then they get kaiju sized.
Yeah, but that's a little bit later. Mm-hmm. The next day, Goro is preparing stewed vegetables.
Yep, and apparently he just he was using a thing to clean the.
He was using a basket that's otherwise used for laundry, which he didn't realize.
Nope. Hey, he's been only there for like a couple of days, maybe a week or so by now, I'm thinking. So.
But it's also in this scene that he's informed of some local plant that they call Solgil spinach. And while most of it's been harvested around the campsite, there is other areas on the island where it's growing, and he goes off to pick spinach.
Then he sees a lady.
A woman!
Woman!
For the record, there are no female scientists on this island, which is probably helping to contribute to that one guy's frustration.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, on top of everything else he's having to put up with.
Oh, yeah, he's stressed. He's sexually frustrated because he's surrounded by men.
Thankfully, that never actually becomes an issue.
No.
That's just me projecting.
Yeah. Well, just think about it here for a moment. You're just surrounded by a bunch of guys. And if you're not fond of them, it's kind of,
It's just a shitty situation for him in general.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he's
already extremely stressed out.
he probably volunteered for this not knowing what was going to go.
Yeah, he probably thought, we're going to get this done in a month or two, or, just...
It's been like...
Yeah, maybe close to a year, maybe. I don't know. He's definitely having a breakdown.
But yeah, the lead scientist is determined to get these experiments done. Mm-hmm. We even see early on how stringent he is about regulations when one guy checking on one of the machines basically says it's as good as it was before. And he's like, no, you don't say that. You give me these exact numbers, and then we'll determine if it's the same.
Fair point.
So he's a bit of a slave driver.
Yeah, a little bit. But
he's not a horrible person.
No.
He's just determined.
Yeah, he just wants to get the stuff done. And when they're eating...
But he wants it to get it done right.
Yes. When they're eating, Goro's trying to explain, he saw a woman. And he's like, the one that's extremely stressed out, you get out of here! Leave us alone!
Yeah, this guy just when it comes down to the question of whether they should continue the experiment or not, Goro is like, we should keep going, and this one dude just goes off on him and is like, ah!
What do you know? I've become a pretty good member of this team.
Also, there's no other lady on this island. What are you talking about?
We've looked around. There's no women.
Believe me, I've checked now.
Take my cold showers.
Yeah, they have cold showers. It's a jungle island. Tropical.
Yep. Oh, God, yeah. In every scene, you see them just sweating.
Yeah. And it actually gets worse when one of their experiments to try and alter the temperature of the island goes quite a bit wrong and actually causes...
a heat wave and...
radiation rain.
Mm-hmm. You just see things.
You'd think would be a lot more dangerous, but considering this is a Godzilla movie, apparently radiation is not harmful to humans. Outside of that first movie.
There's a scene later where you see Godzilla and Manila shooting their atomic breath into some water, and they just take it and give it to people. You would die. Well, it depends, I guess.
It depends on
how much radiation.
But
it's coming from Godzilla. So.
Yeah. Godzilla is known to start cars on fire with his nuclear breath. So.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not exactly the best scenario.
No.
But yeah, their experiment goes wrong and just wreaks havoc on the island.
Yeah.
It causes the already big Kamacuras to grow even larger.
They're probably to the least, I want to say, 40 to 50 feet stage by now.
I wouldn't say...
20 feet max, maybe.
I don't know how to convert that into meters.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, they're definitely not 50 meters, because they're still somewhat dwarfed by Godzilla.
Oh, yeah.
Later on. But it's also around this time that a giant egg is uncovered. I mean, bear in mind that enough time has passed that all the more devastating effects, such as the tropical storms, have subsided. So now the guys are able to venture out into the jungles. It's just they have to deal with a lot of wrecked shit.
Yeah. And instead of just abandoning the project, they have to stay and fix everything.
Because one guy claims that the radios are out, even though it's revealed that, no, they actually aren't. So, of course, the guy who's been frustrated already is even further frustrated by all this.
Yes.
He just wants to leave.
He comes out with a gun. He's like, whoa, just starts pointing it at all the other, his employees. And all of a sudden he just kind of runs off, and another one just kind of chases him down into the water. And just like, what's the matter with you?
And then they spot Godzilla showing up.
He's like, this is also the time that the Kamacuras are
beating up the egg that got unearthed.
Yep, just like crack. And then Manila
hatches, and he looks like a turd.
Oh yeah. Later movies he does look a little better, not by much.
But at this point he looks like
he looks like a piece of crap.
Like this is clearly a puppet rather than a suit.
Yeah.
Like a little later in the movie. And it's just getting beat up by the Kamacuras. Then Godzilla shows up and fights off the Kamacuras. And then walks off, leaving behind the baby, Manila.
I was making some jokes while we were watching it. When Godzilla returns, he has to have Manila get drug on his tail. I'm like, come on, you little shit, or G-Ras is going to kill me.
For context, G-Ras is a monster that appeared in an episode of Ultraman and was accomplished by adding frills to a couple pieces of a Godzilla costume.
Yeah.
Which got tore off in that particular episode, resulting in what was basically Ultraman versus Godzilla.
Yep.
Good episode, though.
Yes, very good.
But after Godzilla chases off the Kamacuras and kind of leaves for a little bit, the mystery girl shows up and gives Manila some fruit, thus establishing a friendship between the two.
Yep, yeah. Excuse me.
And that's still more interesting than this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, Godzilla returns and drags Manila away on his tail.
Well, he's a kid.
Can't even stand up.
No, he's just like
barely stand up.
He's just getting drugged. Just like you see a kid have a fit in a store, and the parents just kind of drag him away. That's pretty much what Godzilla did.
At some point, something happens that results in even more equipment being messed up.
Well, Godzilla did walk through their area.
Yeah. They do the scientists do end up encountering the mystery lady after she steals one of Goro's shirts that's hanging up for drying. Finally they believe him about the lady.
This scene I think is probably I thought it was kind of funny is because she's been on the island a long time, but she's like,
I think her name is Reiko.
Yeah, Reiko. Yes.
It's either Reiko or Keiko.
I think it's kind of funny because she calls Goro a robber after he's trying to get his shirt back.
Yeah, he finds her the cave she's been living in, which is actually how she managed to survive the disaster that resulted from the botched experiment.
Yeah.
She just stayed inside a cave.
Yep.
The whole time. But yeah, she accuses him of being a robber for trying to look through some books that her dad had left behind. And he just turns around and accuses her because she stole his shirt.
Me sorry.
He does let her keep it.
You can keep it. I'm giving it to you. Really?
Although she does question whether or not it's actually one of his shirts, because she can't imagine any guy wearing a shirt like that. With kind of a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, it's like it has flowers on it. And
like a red and white shirt with flowers on it. So she's like...
They become very good friends.
They do become good friends, and it's actually thanks to that friendship that the scientists are able to move a lot of the equipment they were able to salvage down into the caves, which is around the time that a lot of the scientists wind up getting sick with some fever.
Yep, just like... And then they go to get red water, the red water.
The warm red water, Reiko calls it.
Yep. And like I said before, you see Godzilla just performing atomic breath in this water.
Yeah, it's a scene where we see Godzilla teaching Minilla how to do stuff like roar. And he's okay with the roar that Manila does produce. It's like, I can't complain too much. But when it comes to atomic breath...
he's like, do it again. You want to hit
smoke ring. Godzilla, shows him how to do the atomic breath, and Manila tries to replicate it and just gets a smoke ring. Mm-hmm. So they're like, hold on, let me show you how to do it again. All right, now you try. Step on Manila's tail.
He performs it by being in pain.
And then I joke, now remember that feeling. It's just like becoming a Super Saiyan.
What is that?
For the Dragon Ball Z did not exist at this time.
No.
That's just me joking.
But you're pretty much explaining how Vegeta taught
Kaba
how to turn into a Super Saiyan.
Yeah, that is what I was comparing it to. Watch Dragon Ball Super. It's pretty decent.
I think it's quite good.
It's better than the alternative.
Yes. So they get things prepared. When they're walking through things, and to get the water. He's like, we can't wake the big spider.
So, yeah, there's a giant spider now. Kumanga. Also known as Spigas in some versions.
Spigas, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Again, that's what it is on the version I watched as a kid.
Huh. Okay.
I still prefer Kumanga.
Yeah.
This is also the version that called Manila Minya for some reason.
Dubbed?
Yep. Because it was on VHS.
Yeah. VHS.
Yeah, I have no idea why Minya was deemed a suitable alternative to Manila.
It's kind of sounds similar, but it's...
I mean, maybe they thought that people would get confused with, Manila envelopes.
Okay.
I mean, that's my thought process. I think there's also a country called Manila, or maybe it's just a region. I'm not entirely certain. I'm just more familiar with the envelopes, but seriously, it's Manila, Mini Godzilla.
Yeah. He gets definitely a big upgrade when it's not even him, when it's Godzilla Jr.
I will give Gochibon props, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a good job with Manila. I mean, he's still kind of slightly inept, but at least we can get a better grasp on him as a character.
Yeah. Well, in Final Wars, he kind of
was there for a while, and then
he talked to not talked, but he was trying to. He was at gunpoint.
Yep.
He's like, no, Dad. No, Grandpa.
But anyway, they managed to get the water, get it back to the cave. The one incredibly frustrated dude, while still incredibly feverish, grabs hold of a gun and actually ends up shooting the lead scientist in the arm.
Yep.
During his fever haze.
Yep. No more guns for him.
Ultimately, they decide that they need to get off the island.
Yeah.
Like, they were initially just going to continue with the experiment, but once all this happens, the lead scientist decides, okay, now we should really just get off the island.
Yeah. Yep.
We need to fix the radio so we can contact the outside world to come pick us up. Because everything that could go wrong has been going wrong.
Well, they weren't expecting giant.
They weren't expecting Godzilla.
No, nobody really expected Godzilla.
Also, for anybody who was wondering about the strange interference signal that was mentioned as a plot point earlier, it was dropped pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'm under the assumption that it was a signal coming from the Godzilla egg.
Maybe.
Because that seems to have been why Godzilla was even heading to the island in the first place, but the movie doesn't really spell that out.
No.
It just kind of assumes that you can figure it out, and there goes that reminder again.
So you gotta watch this thing tomorrow, then.
No, I gotta watch it today, but it started going off yesterday.
Oh.
In fact, I've actually got 2 reminders. I did start watching one of the shows. I gotta start the other one soon.
They're probably gonna be better than this movie.
They are better than this movie. I can guarantee you that. And I haven't even seen one of them in its entirety. But I'm not going to spoil what they are.
Oh, they're for review power?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to get off the island. They actually get the things fixed.
Kumanga wakes up, gets in a bit of a fight with Manila, which causes a minor cave-in in the cave, which further accelerates their desire to get the hell out.
Yep. They activate the weather machine.
They figure they need to activate the weather machine in order to create conditions that would allow them to escape from the island. Mm-hmm. We get at some point we get a fight between Godzilla and the Kamacuras where he sets them on fire.
Yeah.
I think they were bullying Manila at one point. It's not super important.
Yeah, it's like Manila tried to fight back, but he tried to do...
Got karate chopped in the neck. And just kind of...
He just sits down and just like falls over.
Yeah, he folds immediately.
Just like...
It's like, ah!
That hurt. Dude, it's like delayed reaction. Just like, ow. Delayed pain.
But now Godzilla shows up to protect Manila from Kumanga. The scientists manage to get a raft ready and flee the island as they set off the experiment to turn the tropical island into a snowy wasteland.
Goro kind of lies to Riku.
Yeah.
And said, oh, they're going to start hibernating. They're lizards.
Yeah, but that's a little later. They get the experiment done. Godzilla and Manila working together manage to defeat Kumanga.
Yeah.
And then they end up having to huddle together for warmth when it starts snowing really bad. Mm-hmm. Goro tells Reiko that they're just going to go into hibernation, which, on the one hand, they're lizards, which are natively cold-blooded.
Yeah.
But on the other hand...
they're atomic lizards.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen that Godzilla is capable of being encased in ice and surviving.
Yes.
As evidenced by the period between Godzilla Raids Again and King Kong versus Godzilla. Mm-hmm. So, there is
They could be fine.
I mean, they show up in the next movie, which is set years later, so... Oops.
Oopsie doodle.
Except Godzilla shows up again in a movie that's set even closer to that period, so...
Yeah, so...
Yeah. Submarine shows up to pick up the scientists, and then the movie ends. And I will admit, the scene of Godzilla and Manila huddled...
I think I heard Sarazawa in that.
Lies. No, the scene of Godzilla and Manila huddling together for warmth is actually kind of a touching moment. Mm-hmm. One of the few highlights of this movie.
Yep.
But otherwise, it's a boring slog.
You're not wrong. It's quite boring.
That having been said, this is perhaps the one movie out of the entire series that I have watched the most. Because sometimes I just need help getting to sleep. I legitimately watch this movie to help me get to sleep some nights. Because it is dull enough where I can zone out while just paying attention to what's being said.
Yep, just like... And this all of a sudden you're asleep.
That and another movie featuring Manila. But, talk about that another day.
Alrighty. This has been Son of Kaiju Review.
I just want to talk about the props and costume special effects in this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
They are bad.
Oh, yeah. Worst Godzilla costume. My God.
Yeah, it just looks absolutely horrible, and thankfully it's really only in this movie.
Yeah. It's,
the only other times it's used are either in stock footage in another movie or simply as promotional stills for a couple other movies.
Like you said, the Manila puppet looked like a piece of a turd.
And the Manila costume didn't look a whole lot better.
No.
I mean, it did look better, but it didn't look a whole lot better.
No.
The Kamakuras and the Kumanga are accomplished through puppets, which they would be fine for the Ultra series.
Yeah,
but not so much for this Godzilla movie. Just kind of in general, the special effects quality in this movie is kind of bleh.
Yeah,
compared to other Godzilla movies.
The effects.
I'm also really not a fan of the fact that this takes place on an isolated island, so we don't get any scenes of city destruction.
Yeah.
We just get...
Well, the only closest city destruction is the laboratory that they have, and Godzilla walks through that. And
I barely remember that was even a thing.
Yeah, it's like, wow, Godzilla's just walking into the path, knocks over a few things, just continues walking. Done.
Yeah, I didn't even remember what'll happen, so good thing you have better memory than I do, I guess.
Yeah, kinda. I did not mind the acting from
the acting was fine.
Yeah.
Although it's a lot of familiar faces, which makes sense given that Toho had a kind of limited roster of actors and actresses for a lot of their movies.
A lot of them just come back from...
I mean, the actor who played Sarazawa in the original Godzilla movie keeps popping up in completely different roles in other films. Mm-hmm. That it's kind of a drinking game going through the series. Take a shot whenever Dr. Sarazawa's actor shows up.
That liver would be kind of in pain. I don't think it would be dead, but on the verge.
Actually, you probably get through the shots pretty quickly considering how long the movies are.
Yep.
Be a while between shots is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it depends if you're watching it through a marathon or...
Yeah.
And...
Or if you're just going at like 5 times speed.
Yep.
Then you'll probably get drunk quicker.
There it is. There he is. There he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I could understand why they made the girl sound a little more childish, is because she was been on an island by herself
For years.
Years, and her father passed away on the island, and apparently her mother passed away giving birth.
Yes, yes, that is actually established in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually thanks to her dad's research notes that they figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember a whole lot about this movie, despite what I said about watching it the most. Because
you're not technically watching it when you're trying to fall asleep. You're just you have your eye things on and just listening.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden.
But yeah, this is objectively one of the worst Godzilla movies, just hands down, and is easily my least favorite Godzilla movie.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And I can think of one that you might consider worse, but again, that's a topic for another video, podcast,
Yeah,
whatever we want to call these.
Excuse me. My burping is still more better than this. And sorry we really didn't really talk too much about this movie because...
Well, we actually talked quite a bit about it.
Yeah, but it's
more than I thought.
Yeah. The fight scenes are... Well, it's a guy in the Godzilla costume and just the costume when he's slamming the connectors down. Editing!
Yay.
Pillowcases. Yeah, so, till next time, I've been Tank.
I'm proud of it.
See ya. And by the way, my coffee is still better.